Let's continue with that story. The Cricket World Cup is heading to the business end of the tournament with the semi-finalists having been decided. Toppers preview this all-important part of the tournament. We've roped in a couple of people that know a thing or two about cricket. SABC Sports commentator as well as News 24 sports journalist, Kanyiso Chwago, and cricket analyst and Lions bowler Ayavuya Myoli. Thank you both for coming back 2 weeks in a row. I should win money next week. Let's start with you, Chwago. We saw there New Zealand, India, won 9 out of 9 matches. We're talking off air. They do a bad game. Can New Zealand do it?
Look, it's for India now to meet the expectation, which is why you feel that they have a bad game in them, because the only really shaky game they had was the win against Australia. Now, they've gone 9 from 9 in the group stages. I think when you look back at the history of the World Cup, only West Indies 75-79, Australia 2003, 2007, 2015 are teams who've gone through an entire group pool stage unbeaten and went on to win the tournament. So, but remember now, they're dealing with a lot of home expectation. They are also dealing with now the issue of having to chase, because remember now, the thing with India, and I actually had this discussion of air with I, is that it's actually one of the more trickier places to chase in 50 over cricket. When you look at semi-finals in particular, you look back to the 87 tournament where one semi-final was in Mumbai, one in Kolkata. Both were won by the team batting first. You go back to 1996, both semi-finals, when Mohali and Kolkata, both the teams there batted first. But when you look back at what happened in 2006 when they hosted the Champions Trophy, it was actually oddly split 1-1. South Africa, oddly enough, were the team who actually lost this semi-final where they batted first. You also go back to the 2011 semi-final where India played Pakistan, who won their team batting first. So there've been variations here and there with regards to expectation. I mean, India have lost a home playoff before. I mean, they lost in 96, they lost in 87, they lost in 2016 to the West Indies at the Wankhede Stadium. They batted first, but I think you'd find that 50 over and 20 over differences will come into play.
Yeah, if I'm picking up on what Kanyis was saying, is that knockout game comes with a different pressure. As well balanced as India seem to be, do they have any weaknesses?
India, I think they've got a lot of advantages, I'd say, on my side. So they're playing at home. They know the conditions. And also, they've got a crowd that's behind them. The other advantage, I'd say, is pressure behind them. I think trying to satisfy and...
That would be a disadvantage,
I think that's pressure, I'd say. It's kind of, I think that depends on how they handle the pressure in terms of performance and stuff like that. But they've been looking good. They've won all the games. I think they're the best team that's doing well in the whole World Cup. They haven't lost a game. So semi-finals, at least we're playing against Australia. So
yeah. Speaking of that game, I mean, we've seen South Africa, obviously, the thorn in their flesh right now is being able to chase. It's been really tricky for South Africa. What is that? Is that a mental block? And how do they get out of it? Especially someone like Themba Bavuma, who does need a good knock.
Look, chasing's tough. I mean, Aya will tell you, having played first class at let's day cricket, that at any level of cricket, scoreboard pressure is a big determinant. You can chase down 340. In the pool stage game, unless that you need to win. But I mean, Australia will look back and say maybe they don't mind chasing, because I mean, they chased down 291 against Afghanistan through that ballistic knock from Glenn Maxwell. They chased down 306 against Bangladesh to finish the pool stage. Milchie Marsh making 177. But chasing in a tournament semi-final is a different kettle of fish altogether, because you are also keeping 1 foot in the semi-final, but you're also trying to look ahead to the final. And scoreboard pressure is different, babe. 340 in the pool stage is different to 340. Yes, I mean, the problem with the Proteas, for example, is that the bulk of their chokes, actually all their chokes, when you look back, West Indies, 96, Edgbaston against Australia. Unfortunately, we can't. It's now part of South African cricketing folklore. South Africa's bad semi-finals chokes have actually come in this thing in chases, 99, 96, 2003, 2011. 15. The thing is, the one semi-final that South Africa have won when they won in the 98 Champions Trophy, they won batting first. So there is some history that South Africa can lean on, but you also look back, they've also lost 2 other ICC semi-finals batting first. 2006 against the West Indies, 2007 against actually 3 times against Australia 2007, New Zealand 2015. They batted first on those 3 games. But there were other factors that play in those matches. So look, I mean, South Africa, just need to just focus
What
on
about
the
Temba?
occasion.
What does he need
I
to
mean,
do?
Temba needs to score runs. I mean, there's been a lot of debates over Temba whether should be dropped or not. I mean, one needs to look at the history of tournaments where have you ever seen a captain being dropped
and
for
you don't
form?
want your captain to be
But it
focus of the
doesn't happen.
story.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
People may have their opinions. I mean, South Africa, it's not the first time, and it's not an excuse. So it's not the first time that South Africa have carried or did call an out of form captain. Hansi Cronje, the late Hansi Cronje, had a terrible 99 tournament with the bat. Sean Pollock wasn't so great with bat or ball in 2003. I mean, Graham Smith had a forgettable tournament with the bat in 2011. But at no point were there suggestions that a captain must be dropped. I mean, Temba did more than enough to get the team into the tournament, where at some point some of his teammates weren't bringing in the runs. But the teammates, the cricket's a team sport. Some guys will be out of form, some guys will be in form. Some guys will be in form, out of form. It may so happen that Temba finds his groove in the semi-final and scores, but then again, that'll also depend whether they'll be fit enough to play.
Because he's sick. Is he sick?
And a hamstring issue that prevented him from running fluently in Friday's game. Yes.
So what can our bowlers do then, Aya, against Australia? They've been relatively all right. Okay, I think they've done better than they have in the past. But I mean, we've always relied on the bowlers to rescue South Africans' innings in a number of tournaments. But what can they do right now, considering how deep Australia can bat?
I think our bowlers have been doing very well in terms of, like, we had the likes of Jansen. Kagiso opened this past game, and then Lungi. Bit worried about Lungi because he's been heavy. He had a hamstring problem, then he had a ankle infringement, something like that he had there. So there's been a lot of kind of injuries, and we've just brought in Andile Pehlukwayo, who did well with the ball and also did well with the bat. And then Maharaj has been bowling very well.
Do you then bring in a Lizard Williams, perhaps if Lungi is not fit?
I think Jansen is probably coming back.
Yeah.
I think my thoughts, Jansen is coming back. We've got a guy like Andile who will also be able to strengthen our batting depth. So I think
not
my side,
not Lizard for Lungi. You put in Andile
because he's done well, and it was his first game in the World Cup. The pressure that he had to perform, and he did well with the bat. He got one of the best batsmen, Rashid Khan. He got him out, and he came in and showed us with the bat what he can do. So I feel like to just strengthen also against Australia our batting depth, I'd have a guy like Andile and get Jansen back in. And he can help you with both.
Oh, have you seen those two play together?
It's conditions dependent. Aya does make a very good point with selection, but it's conditions dependent. If you look at how well Keshav bowled in that India game,
So
I mean, he was magnificent.
Absolutely.
And you look at Tabraj Shamsi. Tabraj Shamsi has been slightly off the boil, has bowled well sometimes, but you look at Australia, you look at their varied skill in playing spin. Everyone, I mean, I spoke about how badly Afghanistan bowled to Glenn Maxwell. He suggested that Afghanistan actually should have taken more pace off the ball. The one thing now you want to put Australia on is spin pressure, because they haven't always played spin very well. But then how will having two spinners alter the makeup of the team? It becomes tricky. It becomes very tricky because you also want Jansen's point of difference with tall, left arm fast, moving the ball away and into the batters. You want that. Outside of the India game, he bowled very well. But also, like with South Africa's bowling in particular, they need to tighten up at the back end in the event that they actually bowl first. Because if you look at the Netherlands game, the Netherlands game was lost because of untidy back end bowling. The fact that South Africa ended up chasing 245 against Afghanistan was bad backhand bowling. So I think it becomes very important that South Africa, whoever's bowling at that point in time, they need to have particularly clear tactics and know that, and clarity of mind to know that if they've got Australia under the cosh at, let's say, 170 for 5 after 40 overs, they need to make sure that they don't concede more than 100 in that back end, because then if they concede 100, 280, a chase of 280 in a World Cup semi-final is a different baby. They can do it. You don't think about the pressures in a pool game, but you will think about 280
Absolutely.
in a knockout game.
You talk about having two spinners, either Shamsi or, Keshav Maharaj is definitely going to play, I mean, barring injuries. But then you saw Aiden Makram had a few spells in the game against Afghanistan. So then that could be another option. If we go with what I is saying, the selection of Andile Pehlukwayo, you want an extra spin, you have Maharaj, but you also have Makram there.
Yeah.
Is that not an option?
Yes, Makram can bowl a bit. They can do the job. I think if Maharaj, Makram there, and you have the bowlers, and the bowlers have been doing well. Our seamers in the early overs, the first stage of the games. I think the worry that we have is like on a bit of our depth. We'll get the early wickets, and then later on we'll be able to struggle. That's when the team starts scoring runs. I think we should middle overs to death and middle overs to death. I think that's where I felt that we can restrict them for and get some wickets there. And you look at the guy like Gerald Coetzee, boy, is his first World Cup. He's one of the leading wicket takers in the South African team. He's on 18 wickets. There's Janssen who's on 16 or 17 wickets.
Yeah,
That's
they do well.
So the guys, I think the bowling group is doing its job. So
yeah,
just the depth.
Apart from India, though, for you, Chwako, who has impressed you? Which team has played relatively great cricket, all-round cricket?
Has to be Afghanistan. Afghanistan, I think they probably have come to this tournament understanding what their strengths and weaknesses are. And what became so impressive in watching them was how their batting improved as the tournament went on. Their batting actually got them into positions of reasonable competitiveness. You look at how well they batted against Pakistan, you look at how well they batted against against England. And those are two games that in the previous World Cup, Afghanistan, 9 out of 10 they would lose.
Yeah.
They actually came in and won those games. I think the Netherlands also put in a few good steps in this tournament. I think they flew the flag very well for associate teams. A team that took many steps backwards was Bangladesh.
Absolutely.
Especially with what we saw when they came in, they absolutely wiped the floor with the Proteas. One of them thought that in India, in conditions that they'd be fairly accustomed to, they would have actually contested for a semi-final. At no point did they look like a playoff team.
Okay, on the spot, who's in the final?
I
mean, forget what your heart says. Let's go with what the cricket says right now.
The Proteas India.
Okay, Proteas India, Chwako?
I would say South Africa, New Zealand.
Right! Right! I'm telling you. It's about time we beat New Zealand one more time. Thank you, gentlemen. I am Yoli as well as Kanye Chwako, looking and previewing the current Cricket World Cup in India. Well, we're looking forward to seeing South Africa and the Black Caps in the final. Another duel between South Africa and New Zealand. That will go down well. Stay with us. We'll be back with more Sports Live after these.